It started with a simple flicker. Ben's nightlight, a soft, warm glow shaped like a friendly moon, would sometimes dim for just a second before glowing steady again. His parents said it was nothing. Probably just a loose bulb, his mom had told him with a tired smile. But at 7 years old, Ben knew better. He'd heard the stories. When the light flickers, something's near. The flickering grew worse each night. The night light would pulse, dimming until the room was filled with heavy shadows. And that's when Ben noticed it, a figure standing just at the edge of the nightlight's glow, waiting in the dark. At first, he thought it was a trick of his imagination. He told himself it was just shadows from his closet or a pile of clothes on the floor. But every night, the figure stood in the exact same spot, a pale outline, tall and thin, watching from just beyond the warm circle of light. He never dared tell his parents. How do you explain something like that? Mom, there's a ghost in my room, but only when the night light flickers. She would just laugh, ruffle his hair, and say, "It's nothing, sweetie. Just your imagination." But Ben knew. He could feel it watching. The first time it went out completely, Ben nearly stopped breathing. 1 second, the moon-shaped night light glowed softly, and the next, darkness. Ben lay frozen, his small body stiff with fear under the blanket. The room was completely silent, the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. He could feel the weight of the shadows pressing down on him, thick and suffocating. Then he heard it, a shuffle. Just the faintest drag of something moving across the floor, like someone dragging their feet. It was slow, deliberate, inching closer to the bed. Ben's breath hitched. He could feel it now. Something was standing right next to his bed, leaning over him. He squeezed his eyes shut so tight it hurt, praying the light would come back on. And just like that, the night light flickered to life again. The pale figure was gone. Ben didn't sleep for the rest of the night, his wide eyes glued to the glowing moon-shaped nightlight. When morning came, his parents noticed the bags under his eyes but didn't say much. They figured he was just adjusting to being in a new room. But Ben knew the truth. It was waiting for the light to go out again. The next few nights were worse. The flickering became more frequent, and every time the light dimmed, the figure grew bolder. It stood closer, no longer at the far edge of the room but halfway across the floor, arms hanging limply at its sides, head tilted at an unnatural angle. And it wasn't just standing, it was staring. Ben could feel its eyes even though the thing had no face. There was only the faint outline of a person, so pale it seemed to glow faintly in the dark, like old bones buried under the sand. And when the night light flickered off entirely, the figure moved. It shuffled closer, dragging its feet slowly, patiently, as if savoring the moment. The air grew colder. Ben could feel it standing right next to his bed again, closer this time. He didn't dare move, didn't even breathe. When the night light flickered back on, the figure was gone. But this time, the blanket on his bed was folded neatly at his feet, as if someone had pulled it off and tucked him back in. The final night, Ben knew something was going to happen. The night light started flickering almost as soon as his mom tucked him in. "Mom," Ben whispered as she kissed him goodnight. "Can I sleep with you and Dad tonight?" She gave him a tired smile. "You're a big boy, Ben. There's nothing to be scared of." She left the door cracked open slightly, but the hallway was dark too. Useless. Ben clutched his blanket tightly, staring at the little night light. Flickered once, twice, then the glow died. Pitch black darkness swallowed the room. Ben held his breath, tears stinging his eyes. He felt the air shift as the thing moved again, slow and deliberate, dragging itself toward him. It was close now, so close that Ben could hear it breathing. And then it whispered, "I like it when the light goes out." Ben's heart nearly stopped. His fingers dug into the mattress as he tried to scream, but no sound came out. Something cold touched his cheek and he bit down on his lip to keep from crying. The nightlight flickered back to life. But this time the figure didn't disappear. It stood there at the edge of the bed, pale and skeletal, with hollow eye sockets where a face should be. It tilted its head slowly and smiled. Ben tried to turn on his side, tried to grab the blanket, but his body wouldn't move. He was paralyzed. The nightlight flickered again, and with each dimming pulse, the figure edged closer. Its long arms reached for him, the fingers stretching unnaturally, ready to pull him away into the dark. Ben knew deep down that if the light went out for good, he wouldn't be there when it came back on. And just as the nightlight dimmed for the last time, Ben heard the whisper again, soft, close, and filled with glee. "Now it's my turn." The next morning, Ben's parents found his room empty. The bed was made perfectly, the moon-shaped nightlight glowing softly on the nightstand. They never found Ben. But every night since, the nightlight in his room continues to flicker, just once at the same time, as if someone is standing at the edge of the glow, waiting patiently for the dark. And if you listen closely, you can hear it whisper, "I like it when the light goes out."